Welcome friends to a Star Wars Legends video. Today we examine the case of Boba Fett training a Jedi and daughter of his enemy Han Solo. Han Solo's daughter's name is Jaina Solo, so that she can stop her fallen Sith sibling, Jacen. Spoilers for the legacy of the Force throughout. Let's get straight into it. Jaina Solo wants Fett to teach her so that she has skills her brother does not. Boba sees the real reason though, that she is there because Jacen killed Jaina's aunt Mara Jade, also Luke Skywalker's wife. Fett says the war is helping the Mandalorian economy, but he agrees for his own reasons. Jacen killed his daughter. Jaina also offers money. He doesn't need it, but takes it for self-respect. Jaina asks him if he wants to see what she can do. Fett draws a lightsaber, thinking he has mastered every weapon in the galaxy except one, and says they can teach each other new tricks. She tells him her brother's abilities, and Fett questions what she knows and says about him. For example, Jaina says that Jacen can stop turbo laser fire by himself, and Fett says if he can do that, why does he need a fleet? Then, as they talked, he landed a punch in her gut, and her lightsaber is lit and slashed across Fett's chest. She had not sensed that attack. Fett had punched her using the lightsaber like a knuckle duster. Fett is wearing a Beskar armor, and he explains and says that Jaina read his body language wrong, and though she did that, she thought she was safe. But he says the lesson is don't just train and think. Nobody wants to hurt you. Set out to win and hit first. It's about finding and exploiting your enemy's weakness. With this, when pressed, she says her weakness is she follows the rules of combat, only using appropriate force. Fett then sends her to train with Bevin. She puts on non-Beskar armor. Her opponent attacks with a saber and gives her one to use as well. He says with Jedi, it's all long sweeps. Every part of the blade cuts, so you don't have to think about the angle, and it's light, so you don't put much weight into the blow, and you spend a lot of energy leaping around opponents just trying to get past their defense. See what happens if you get used to a Beskar. It'll change how you handle that shiny stick. This blade had one edge and had less reach. She swung the blade, but the tip only hit his plate. The reach was less, and with a few moves, he flattened her. The Beskar, for those who don't know, is a traditional Mando weapon, a single-handed short sword. They fought, and she felt him in the Force lose all emotion and become a single word, end. He hammered her, she fell back, and it continued, and she felt a terrible focus until she threw him away with the Force. And he talks about how she needs to get into a mindset where nothing will stop her. Later, Jaina joins a Mandalorian strike team that includes Fett and Murta, a female Mandalorian. Fett is her grandfather, and they get on board the Star Destroyer that Jacen is using to reconnoiter and kill some Moffs. On board, Jaina fights a Dark Jedi, Tahiri, and unleashes the blind violence she has been learning. The Moffs attack, but are quickly finished. But Jaina sees Murta is being choked. Her brother is there. Jaina broke the choke, and Tahiri and Jacen escaped. Later, she gets into her brother's bunker, keeping her Force presence low so he doesn't feel her in it. Jaina wonders, even after what she has been through, if she can do it, if she can kill her own brother. She then gets a chance to help the Mandalorians against the Moffs and their troopers, but decides not to. It would give her presence away to her brother, a Boba Fett style choice. Her brother emerges to save them. She tries to snipe him, but a guard gets in the way and he kills Mandalorians. She fires 3 more times. He blocks one, another misses, and a third catches him in the shoulder. Then he uses a Mandalorian as protection from another round. Jacen goes near a friend of Jaina's, Vatok, but she continues to fire, as Fett would have, even though she also hits her friend's armor. Jacen kept out of her sights, and the kills the Mandalorian that is her friend. Jacen bent the end of her sniper weapon. Jacen was in pain, but this wound would only power him. He leapt up to her spot and blocked a strike at his neck. They fight a little more, and Jacen thinks he's fighting Luke. He leaps away. Luke goes after him. He attacks with pure ferocity. Jacen meets it. Even with Force-enhanced strength, he can barely keep his guard up. Then Luke surprises Jacen again, taking a hand off his saber and pushing the palm towards him, combining them in a blow that drove him back through the seats behind him. Luke set to finish him, but a thrown Mandalorian blocked the coup de grace. Jaina feels filled with the Force, keeping up the illusion that she is Luke. Then Jacen throws a frag grenade. Jaina stood with a lightsaber and her friends Vatox Beskad and attacked with both, and Beskad cleaved through Jacen and his arm fell to the ground. Jacen screamed. Part of Jaina was shocked. She used the Beskad again, and her brother turned off his saber, and his palm sank into her stomach, and she was riding Force lightning away from him, across the chamber. She hit a durasteel wall, and her muscles were useless, and it was then Jacen saw that Luke had been an illusion, and Jacen escapes, and the Mandalorians find Jaina and help with her extraction. Jaina tells Fett his granddaughter might be dead, and Jaina is told by Tenel Ka, a former lover of Jacen's, that the marks on her are her brother's blood, and have marked her so that he can always track her down. She later is part of an ambush that uses that blood trail. The Star Destroyer named after her and Jacen's fallen brother enters the fray, and the Anakin Solo is heavily damaged, and she gets on board for the final fight. Jaina hears Fett's granddaughter is alive and has to rescue her, not something Jaina thinks Fett would do. She finds Murta, who makes her promise she will tell Fett that the Moffs are making a nano-killer for him, and she also says that Jacen underestimates his sister, and that Jacen still thinks Luke attacked him before and took his arm. She then finds him for their final battle. Jaina finds him. Jedi versus Sith. Solo versus Solo. Brother versus sister. As they engage, a Force blast sent her through the air, but learning from before, she tucked her chin and stayed awake when she hit it. And Jacen carries her counter-strike, a thumb-sized scorch hole below his ribs. She deflects Force lightning with her sword, and then she Force shoved him back. Jaina readies for an attack, and Jacen turns his lightsaber off. He asks her to stand aside so he can rescue his daughter. Jaina refuses. She flips to attack whilst his saber is off. Jacen pushes her towards a fusion incinerator. She uses her full strength to push herself aside from going into it, but she hits hot metal and smells her own singed hair and scarred flesh. In an effort to stay standing, Jaina opens herself up fully to the Force, filtering it through her emotions, her love for the brother that was, giving her a maelstrom of power. Then the fight continued. Jacen uses lightning. Jaina catches it and brings her blade down, but her brother has moved. Jacen cuts at her shoulder, and she avoids and blocks his expected enhanced snap kick, but it snaps her wrist. Such is his Force strength. With her saber hand, she blocks a reverse slash aimed at her neck. Then she drives herself, aiming for his foot. He counters, and both blades do a little damage, but Jaina then feels her abdomen as something wanted to come out of her slashed muscle. Jaina attacked Jacen and severed the tendon running up the back of his ankle. He staggered to the ground. Jaina lowered herself to face him. He could hardly move. With one good arm and one good leg on opposite sides, only his lightsaber stood in the way. Jacen tries to defend himself, but his saber fell to the ground and he stumbled. Then the book tells us Jaina fainted at his head, then began to whirl towards his armless side, bringing her lightsaber around in a flat, high slash that he could not hope to block. It was a sure kill. It would kill him even if it killed her, as it left her completely open, total commitment. But Jason seemed elsewhere while she did this. The saber sank in, plunging through his ribs into his chest, and she sensed one last thing from him. Her brother, reaching for his love Tenelkar and his daughter, warning them of the danger of the Imperial nano-killer targeting them, a small glimmer of the light he had once held. Then the blade reached Jason's heart, and he dropped at her feet, and Jaina felt nothing at all, finding that sense of nothing the Mandos had taught her, and showing the aggression and surprise she had been advised to try, such as a Jedi with a sniper rifle. After we find Jason's warning had reached Tenelkar and his daughter and had saved them, and Jason's parents, Leia and Han, look after his daughter, Jaina recovered from her injuries and continued as a Jedi. The Mandos do pay a price for helping, however. Fett and Murta can never return to Mandalore, as the Moffs, as revenge, have spread a virus there. Now friends, I turn this over to you. What do you think the Mandalorians' training did for the Jedi? Should Jaina have let her brother live? Are there any Star Wars Legends videos you'd like to see on this channel? Comment down below.